Hi, this is Josh Molina with Makers and Finders, and this is Pursue Vegas.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the Pursue Vegas podcast. I'm your host, Dave Berlin.
And I'm your co-host, Tawni.
And we are incredibly excited. This is a very special episode of the Pursue Vegas podcast because we brought back one of the OGs from the very first series that we ever did for Pursue Vegas over 2 years ago. And he was one of the first people that stepped up and said, hey, I want to be a part of this. And I'm so glad to have Josh Molina, the visionary and founder of Makers and Finders. And if you haven't been, it's a very vibrant, Latin-inspired coffee bar and eatery that's become a staple in the Las Vegas community. Known for the lively atmosphere, bold flavors, and commitment to fostering community, Makers and Finders reflects Josh's passion for creating spaces where people can connect and thrive. Josh the man, welcome to the Pursue Vegas podcast. What are you excited about, bro?
Well, after that intro, I was excited about that. That was incredible.
Are you sure it's that, not the coffee?
No, and the coffee. No, there's definitely a lot of coffee in the system right now. No, I'm so excited to be here, Dave, and I'm glad that, the revival's here for Pursue Vegas, and I'm excited to see where this goes and how I can contribute.
You know what I love about you, bro, is we got connected right before we did that series 2 years ago, and somebody else had kind of bailed, and you stepped in. You were like, yeah, I'll help. And I feel ashamed to say this, and I've really shed a lot of my shame and guilt, but I've barely talked to you in the last year, especially. Everyone just gets busy with life. You know what I mean? I've been doing a bunch of stuff with all the work that I do with veterans. I've been doing a lot of stuff with Global Entrepreneurship Week. And then when this kept coming back up, I was like, I'm just going to hit Josh up. I texted you, and in like 5 minutes, you're like, I'm down.
Instantly, man. No, and that's how it goes. We're busy, time flies, but when there's a moment, an opportunity to connect, we're there to take it, right?
So good. Well, a couple of things have changed since then. You've got some new locations, so just go off, man. Tell us everything about Makers and Finders, what you're working on, and what you're excited about.
Yeah, this year is a very special year for us. It's our 10-year anniversary, right? So I just can't even believe saying that, but going back to that's just time for you. We opened up in 2014 in the Arts District, a much different Arts District than what we have now. We were the second food and beverage concept, the first the specialty coffee brunch concept, and now there are over 35 eateries, restaurants, breweries, bars, etc. So, just it's been an incredible journey just to be able to bear witness to the growth in the Arts District, the culmination that was always why we chose the Arts District, because early on, I saw the vision for Vegas. I knew that we were headed in a direction where it's going to be more metropolitan, a lot more people from other cities. It'll become less transient, and we'll start building like a cultural foundation that identifies Vegas outside of the Strip, right? Outside of what we were known for the longest time. So, I've seen that just our Arts District location gets a lot of tourism. So just hearing them say, "Hey, we're coming." The Vegas tourist has evolved, right? It's no longer just looking for the clubs, the beach clubs, the buffets, right, which is fading away quickly, and now it's looking for what is Vegas for real, like what's local Vegas. And so, coming to the Arts District, Fremont East, Red Rock Canyon. There's so much to Vegas, and I'm just happy to see it. But that was kind of like the early beginnings of Makers and Finders. We wanted to be in a neighborhood that was going to be like the center of that kind of, I don't want to sound too dramatic, but like the cultural revolution of Vegas, right?
Be dramatic, bro. We're just looking for the truth.
It sounded so different in my head too, like like echoes.
Did it have
and
some
like,
kind of flair?
Yeah, no, but I can't do that. Confetti can. And then here we are. Now the Arts District is known as like the center of Vegas and the culinary scene, the art scene. There's so much going on down there. And then fast forward to now, we opened up our second location in downtown Summerlin, right? That's where we met a couple of years ago to shoot that. And then smack dab in the middle of COVID, we opened up our sister concept, Take It Easy Roasters, which is an elevated pastry shop with micro coffee that we micro roast. I was telling our buddy here, Bruno. Thank you, Bruno.
Bruno Mars.
Yeah.
Bruno's
Bruno's
the Jamie of our show that Joe Rogan has.
Yeah.
It's just this anonymous being. No one's ever seen him. No one might. But yeah, that's the Jamie.
Yeah. Well, yeah, I was telling Bruno about the bean, and so we get really, we got a direct trade deal out of Colombia going on, really high quality beans, and then fast forward, we open up a satellite location in Area 15, and then finally last year, June 17th of last year, we opened up our Henderson location. And that's our biggest location to date. It was an old Chase bank, so that was quite the build out. I had to build that restaurant from scratch, and a lot of vision required for that, just because it was a bank, not a restaurant.
Is there still a vault there? Like, do you? Oh, that'd be cool. Like, if you just had like one bean that was in the vault.
That's where they stored the empanada sauce.
Which is delicious sauce, by the way.
Yeah,
the little
great.
Pico Mastery, whatever you do with it.
And no, we don't have a vault.
Okay.
We weren't that lucky, but still, quite the build out.
Yeah.
Quite the project, and now we're a year into it, so we're happy, we're growing. We're looking to continue to expand makers and finders here in Vegas and outside.
How big's your team? Because I was mentioning a little bit before the show. Like, I've always been a fan of restaurants. To me, it's great that you have food and coffee, right? Because those are two of the easiest places to bring people together. I've been good friends with a guy back in Oklahoma who was, World Pizza Champion president. He's broke the record for the world's largest pizza party. He has 12 restaurants, right? And he's home every night for dinner. What is that like for you? But my question also in that is, how many people are on your team across all the places?
Yeah. So we have over 100 employees now.
Okay.
Yeah.
Love that.
Because like you said, we're more of a full restaurant. So, at any given location, we'll have anywhere from like 30 to 35 employees. And then we have an office team that handles our HR back end. And then we have like our production team that does the empanadas, the bakery items, the coffee roasting. So it's definitely a work, a labor of love, for a lot of labor, right? And so we, and it's important to build a team, and that's really where I'm at 10 years in, is just still understanding, what makes people tick. At the end of the day, this is the restaurant business. We're not doing open heart surgery. We're serving coffee. We're serving great food, great cocktails. But there's a lot that goes into it, and it's a very people heavy job. So I've had to really develop my skills as a leader, and then also become creative in how we develop these team members who maybe restaurants not their passion, but how do we make them feel happy to be there, and even more importantly, how does that trickle down to our guests, right? So it's and to this day, like this year has been a really like looking within, looking at the mirror, because we want to expand. We want to continue to scale, but we don't want to scale our problems. We want to scale our business. You know what I mean? So that's a big focus. So looking into our SOPs, our training programs, like really diving into the training, and investing money, time, resources, like building out true course, like hybrid courses where they can do it hands-on like a typical restaurant, but also they can have some content they can study from home. So that's really what I'm seeing is bringing me a lot more freedom, because it's that's really, I think, what I'm in pursuit of now, is like I got the business is going well. I obviously want to continue growing it, but how do I not feel shackled to it? Yeah. Which is it's really easy to become obsessive and tied to your business. So I have a son. I was telling you, he's 7 years old. I have a family, and so I am just trying to play smart. I want to work hard, but I also want to work smarter. So
I love that, and congratulations on breaking the decade, because statistically speaking, a lot of restaurants fail within the first year, and like more than 95% of it, to be exact, right?
Yeah.
And most don't make it past 4 or 5 years. And surprisingly, I've been to the Henderson one because I live back in the boonies.
Yeah.
And I did go to the downtown one. Now that I think about it, I think when I first moved here as a tourist, that was the first time I went to before COVID. I was like, man, I need to move somewhere. Like what's it going to be? Is it going to be Chicago? Is it going to be, Seattle? I was just chasing different weathers outside of California.
And you chose the desert.
The weather tax, I had it too good, I want to. So congratulations on that. And I really love the concept. And I can't even tell that it was a bank.
Yeah.
So,
Well, that's good.
Which is like so funny how we all connected. And I did take a meeting there too. And we love like the steak and eggs and everything. It's just so vibrant, and the coffee choices. And now that I know what labor of love goes into it, and as like a child of immigrant, I grew up in the back of a restaurant with my parents for years and years and years. So I know that we get there early in the morning and we don't leave for like 14, 16 hours.
Right.
You know, so I know that when you say you're building and you're putting heart and soul into building this community, not just around the food and service like industry, because obviously when you bring up SOPs, that's what makes a business drive. That's what your systems and processes is going to make revenue. But at the end of the day, it's going to be your people that's going to drive your actual profit, your bottom line, your cash flow, and the service and the hospitality on why people keep coming back to you and why people want to keep pouring back into their community. And it sounds like you're doing a lot of work to like give back and like build the team and actually nurture the people and, you know, do a really good job at bringing people together. So like, what does that look like for you in the next couple years with you in your expansion, right? Of just you being elevated as a person with your son, and how that entrepreneurship kind of takes, are you going to take your son like to work with you, show him the lifestyle, the vision on how you want him to get his roots into the ground of understanding what entrepreneurship and restaurateur is really like outside of, you know, the big corporations here in Vegas?
Yeah. That's a great question. And Hudson, that's my son's name. He was there, you know, he was part of the Henderson build out from before it was the restaurant it is now to when it was dust and rubble. So that's definitely a big part. I take him to work, especially on the weekends, because that's when I spend the most time with him. And, you know, just this last weekend, even just picking his brain and, you know, kind of stimulating that vision and that eye for detail. We bought some planners for the Main Street location that for the patio, and you know, we had some negative space, and I was like, hey, maybe we can use a couple more. But I ended up leaving it up to Hudson. I'm like, hey, what do you think, man? Like, you know, we have this many planners. I was kind of thinking about adding here, and he made the call. And so, you know, what he's taught me a lot, and what's translated into being a restaurant owner and an entrepreneur is like just how much grace and patience you need to have with children, but beyond that, just with people, you know, people that work for you. Like, you know, yeah, there's rules, there's systems and procedures, but at the end of the day, like, we're all on a human level, like we're all walking into work with carrying something, right? And my job is to, you know, create an atmosphere where they can kind of forget about that for a little bit and focus on making people happy, making people smile, and handing out experiences, you know. So I take that really seriously, and I think that just being someone who's been in Vegas for 25 years now, I owe this city everything. Like, this city has built me to what I am. I always tell people, like, you know, this business raised me. You know, and I was 25 when I opened that first location, so I traded in, you know, my well, I still partied, but, you know, I was gonna say I traded in the parties for a restaurant, but that wouldn't be true. But you know, it's different. Like, you know, when you're carrying that amount of responsibility in your 20s, it's just a little unusual for people, and so it was a challenge to really learn how to carry that weight, right? And beyond learning how to carry that weight, understanding that I don't have to carry it all, right? I don't have to carry it all, and I think that was the biggest part of this journey that I'm on the journey, right? But that's one of the things I've learned along the way is like, hey man, like, you have your team, enable them, empower them, and give them the opportunity to perform, and part of performing is failing. So, you know, and you know, I'm kind of the mindset now, just like embracing failure is probably the most important thing, because we don't learn the easy way. I can't tell you one thing I learned just by someone telling me, hey, do it like this. Yeah, sure. I'm not going to do that. I'm going to do it my way. Fall over and pick myself up and say, okay, I won't do that again. So.
Yeah. So speaking of failure, what was like that biggest kick in the face lesson that you've taken in 10 years of just building your restaurants out here that you didn't anticipate or expect, or no one told you about, that you wish you knew sooner?
I think it's I don't mean to stay on the subject, but it's just like the leadership aspect. You know what I mean? Like, I feel like, you know, either people are like business management degrees or, some form of like business. I was a psych major at UNLV. So, that, I've always been very interested in like behavior and what makes people tick. But I think that's the biggest thing I've learned, and the biggest, not one kick, but, so many kicks in the face, Chun-Li style, so it's just, it was, and it's just
Pop
realized.
culture reference.
It's so it's been just realizing that forcing people to do things the way I want to do them, and that like codependency factor of like wanting people to think like me and do things like me, like that was something I really had to let go of. And as a person who's like a type A kind of OCD, like controlling to a certain degree, like that was tough.
High
right?
D on the disc.
yes. And so that was a big challenge for me, I would say.
Man, I love that, and thanks for sharing everything, because your passion, not just for people but for food, comes out in your atmosphere. But I love how you even said it. You're in that season where you're taking a look in the mirror. How can you be a better person, be a better leader? And it does trickle down. And then it's going to trickle out, right? So you're doing a lot of philanthropy and a lot of stuff in the community as well. Can you talk a little bit about that? Because most people know me; they know I do a lot of stuff in the veteran space. I'm a Marine Corps veteran. Right. But for you, what's the work that you're doing outside of your restaurants in the community?
Yeah, I mean, I'm also a first generation immigrant, and I think that that's what I've really taken the most passion to is like, hey, I identify with the Latino community. I am Latino. I speak Spanish. That's where my that mishmash of like culture between like the South American and then the American culture that I've I've had the privilege of growing up in. And so I think that's my biggest inspiration and passion right now is like showing other kids that look like me, that don't have the resources, the money, the upbringing that others might have that come from a more privileged background. You can still make it. You know what I mean? You could still make it, and it's just understanding, the importance of educating yourself, the importance of being curious and finding resources and finding mentors and, listening to podcasts like these to get inspired. So so my most recent endeavor is I'm the board chair for a hybrid high school, charter school in Las Vegas, Thrive Point Academy of Nevada. It's in person and remote. It's totally free. It's for 9th through 12th graders, specifically for credit deficient students, and it's focused. The location is right across from Meadows Mall, right? So 89107, very a boiling pot of culture. A lot of Latinos there as well. So I got involved with this project last year. Education is not a space that I've ever kind of been in, and so just it was a journey just to kind of sit in front of like the charter school board and prepare the application and go through that whole process. I mean, I learned a whole lot, and I've been able to contribute time into this project. We got denied last year, right? But we appealed, and we were able to win the appeal, which means that we actually opened our doors a couple of weeks ago with the school year. So we're officially in business. We have over 200 students enrolled. This is just the beginning, but I'm just projects like these are what make me really what make me tick and make me want to keep moving, keep growing, and continue that evolution.
I love that, man, and such a passionate thing. And that's where it's one thing to be successful in business. It's a whole nother thing to be successful in restaurants. But this is a whole different layer for you to be successful in restaurants in Las Vegas, because a lot of the culinary stuff here has always been predicated on the power of the Strip. What do you think? What are the biggest challenges that you see in that industry specifically, in the culture of being a independent, owned and operated restaurant owner here in Vegas versus where you might have done this anywhere else?
Yeah, I mean, it's a double-edged sword, right? Like Vegas, it's everyone from anywhere will inevitably be in Vegas at some point or another, right? So, I mean, that visibility to be able to say, hey, I opened a restaurant, and like I have not just the city kind of being able to experience it, but in the sense like the world can come and see it, right? That's huge, and that's an incredible opportunity. But on the other side of that, it's the amount of competition, the amount of restaurants that exist in Vegas, the Strip. That's something that is extremely challenging. And beyond that, I know we're all feeling it. Like we all hear the inflation and all the stuff going on with costs. Like that has been extremely challenging. Restaurants notoriously already have small margins, right? Small bottom lines, but now you add inflation into the mix, and the cost of goods are so incredibly high, and I feel like there's a lot of pressure right now, and we're seeing some really incredible culinary destinations that you most wouldn't expect close, and that's just a fact of the matter. Going back to what you said, is 95% is the failure rate. So it's been so I would say that's been a huge challenge. And how we've been able to try to mitigate that, well, that comes back to what I was talking about earlier: training, really building out these programs so that we can have staff that know what they're doing, that can come in and be comfortable in their zone, and of course, being our marketing is something that we do very heavy, right? Instagram, we have almost 30,000 followers on there. We just started a new coffee chat series, which, by the way, you're going to have to repay the favor and come on to that with me.
Is there coffee?
Always.
I'm down.
Always, man. Maybe an empanada or two, too.
We got to do is it like the hot ones where instead of eating hotter wings, we do more double shots of espresso? We just keep throwing it down.
I love it. So yeah, I mean, just got to stay active. And that's the thing about restaurants, man. It's like it's a trending kind of gameplay. Like, you have to be always bringing something to the table. And I think that's what we've done well, is we've maintained relevance, we've maintained activity, even through COVID. We never really closed our doors, even during the shutdown. We just, and look, that's exhausting as hell, but it's what I do.
Well, now it's part of your culture. Now it's part of your history. And I've seen places that are similar. Like I told you about my friend in Oklahoma, people talk about that. That becomes something that when new people are coming on board to your team, they'll be talking about, man, back in the day. And it's that back in the day is what draws people to be there, because they know that you've grown through something. That means you can grow through anything. And it just adds a different level of safety and trust, because the days of somebody going to work for somebody somewhere for a paycheck, those are gone. People go because they want to belong. They want to be part of something. They want to be part of something special. And I'm so glad that that's what you've created, because when you say you have 100+ souls on board right now, that's going to grow, right? Mike back in Oklahoma is 318. He'll tell he can wake up every morning and he knows 318. There's 318 people that are counting on me for every interview that he goes on or any of that stuff. And it's it's going to grow. And it's not anything new to you. It's just, again, as you're going through it, it's man, I didn't realize how it seems so hard when you're going through it, and then you look back and you're like, that was kind of easy. But the point is it mattered, and it now becomes part of your story.
Yeah, no, 100%, man. I like that. So, yeah.
No, I love the energy that you carry, not just throughout this conversation, through the coffee and through explaining it to us on how much intent and effort goes into thinking about every single step. So now it kind of makes sense on the feeling I walked into as a, visitor or a consumer walking into a restaurant, checking it out for the first time, and just really feeling what it's like to be aligned to a restaurant when you feel it, and it feels like family, right? So when you meet obviously the maker, you understand how that's translated throughout each operations, right? From the door to the service to when we receive our foods. You want to feel a certain way when you get service, because hospitality is why people keep coming back and why people tell their friends, because that's the most expensive but free, marketing ever. It's just, if I tell a friend, they're going to tell 10 friends because of this place and how it made me feel. Not essentially just because, they have this sick ass viral social media post, but that doesn't capture far and long because it's not sustainable, because those restaurants will capture the short amount of people that catches virality of a restaurant. But to build something sustainable to where you're actually delivering value and like putting effort every single time and treating like each customer as if they're your family. Like now I can kind of hear like the founder story without the founder story. So it's like, it's kind of amazing. Like everything kind of like circles around and makes sense on like the experience itself. And then now you meet someone who poured the vision and the values into building that, and it translates like all the way for me. So that's something I just want to throw in.
No, that's great. Well, that also brings up a really good point. And, we've had a lot of different people on the show. But to be really candid, you're the first restaurant. And I'm so glad that you're back. But this makes for a really fun question because you are here, right? Where's your favorite place to go? That not only for that, but food, service, ambiance, somewhere that challenges you or that inspires you. That's a local spot here in Vegas that most people may not know about.
I think most people probably know about this place, but it's one of my favorites, right? Sparrow and Wolf, right?
Nice.
That's in Chinatown. Chef Brian Howard. Just the way they continue to push the envelope from a, creatively in a culinary way to really, bring that local heart of Vegas and put it on the plate, right? Very beautifully as well. I love Sparrow and Wolf. I love the intimacy of it. I love, it's everything about it is perfect, and it's a place that I frequent, whether I'm at the bar, at the table. It's just one of it's my comfort zone.
This is so funny because when we did the series back in the day, and you were telling us about all the places where you had makers and finders. It's on the video because you were like, we have the commissary spot that does all the stuff in Chinatown. Take it easy. And I was like, dude, I live in Chinatown. I didn't know that. And you're like, you should check it out. I'm there all the time now because I still live in Chinatown. Embarrassing to say this. Sparrow and Wolf is 412 paces from my apartment, and I've never been. I've been there for 3 years, and I have not been one time. So I'm probably going to go tonight.
I'm so excited for you, though. Right now. I wish I got to enjoy it for the first time again. God.
You didn't even invite us.
I know, right?
I'm going to go tonight.
He said, I'm going tonight.
It's a very private, personal experience for me. But no, that's great. Thank you for sharing that. And again, I've seen it a million times, right? Everyone said great things, but it's almost like moving there, I was very overwhelmed. I didn't go anywhere for the first year, right? I went to the Leatherneck Club because it's a marine bar and they have great burgers, and it was delicious. And I was like, I never need to go anywhere again. And then a lot of people said, oh my gosh, you live in Chinatown. There's so many great places. I was like, honestly, I haven't been to any of them. And they're like, what? One guy finally was like, here's 5 places. And the first place he gave me was Weira Thai, and I went to Weira, and I was like, I never have to go anywhere again. Like every place I go to, I'm like, I never have to try to eat other food again. Yeah. But that's been something I've been very conscious about that lately. I want to be a lot more adventurous through there. Yeah. I've mainly always stuck to pizza because I'm just a world like that, which there's great places in Chinatown as well. But no, when it comes from you and just the whole everything from you stepping in and helping before and like telling me that, like I've had so many magical conversations in Take It Easy, and I kind of hate talking about it because then I feel like more people are going to find it and I'm not going to have my same seat every time I go, because normally I get to go and I just got my own little seat, and it's like, ooh, this is a nice day. I'll get so much work done. Now there's going to be like all kinds of people coming through, but I dig it. I dig it for you because then that means you get to bring on more people. Right. You get to open more spots. Do you have an eyeball for new spots? And then the double-edged question, are you also going to do other kind of activations, or are you always going to kind of stick with the same vibe?
Yeah, so we're definitely looking. We're scouting right now. We've been scouting for several months now. It's just we all the economy's there's a lot going on right now. Yeah. I mean, obviously it's an election year, but there's just the commercial real estate market is changing pretty quickly, and I'm a big believer, like, hey, I don't want to force it. Like, if it's meant to be, like, I'll know it'll go through. So unfortunately, we've had some near misses, but we're constantly looking at other parts of Vegas. We've been looking south by the M Resort. We've been also looking north by like Kyle Canyon, Sky Canyon, I should say. And so we're constantly looking. And to answer the second part, we're also creatively, we're always trying to try new things out, always pushing ourselves. So we do have a few things up our sleeve. We're not ready to share just yet, but we're working. We want to continue creating space for people to break bread and enjoy, experiences like what you described, that take it easy, like, and what you said earlier. I just wanted to just really quickly go back to that, because you somehow dug into my head and pulled all of the words out of my brain. The way you explained it, I mean, it's you made it sound magical, and that's what it is. Having an experience in a place that's like curated and where there's a vibe and there's an atmosphere. That's the feeling that we're shooting for. Yeah, we want to serve high quality coffee and food, but beyond anything else, like, we want to create like memories like that. So I just want to say I love how you said that.
That's great.
Yeah,
I love it. So when it comes to, obviously, there's always, you're right, there's a lot of things going on. There's a lot of big challenges. What would you say is the biggest challenge in the ecosystem for the community, for businesses across the valley, not the Strip, right? But just, what's the biggest challenge that you see as you're carrying multiple businesses kind of all across the valley?
Two things, and I kind of mentioned both of them already, but it's, COGS, and what that is cost of goods sold. Like, that's how restaurants, like, that's a big chunk. That and labor are the two biggest chunks that dig into your top line, right? And so that's been extremely challenging. Just always making sure we have our comps there, making sure we're tracking these things, tracking inventory. And then the second thing, which is a little harder to predict and forecast, is the real estate market.
Mm-hmm.
It's crazy out there. The amount of money that some of these companies are trying to charge to lease out a restaurant, to lease out space, it's absurd. Like,
and triple net and cams.
It's so bad.
I just triggered him right now.
I know. I was just like, I got that tick back. It's bad. It's obscene. You know what I mean? And I'm seeing that as, like, we're scouting, and it's crazy what these people are charging. There's such a disconnect, I feel like, from what the landlords and the people looking for leases are looking for. And unfortunately, it's got to get worse before it gets good, right? We have to stop signing these crazy leases and with these inflated values for real estate, and we have to bargain and negotiate hard and not force it. You know what I mean? Because that's the first thing. I think that's the easiest thing to do, is just say, well, I'm just going to do it, right? It's a little concerning, but
So when it comes there, what for people in the industry or outside the industry, because you're passionate about the community, if you had one piece of advice for someone that was looking at either moving here or stepping out into that next thing, and if they were looking at starting a concept or digging into food truck business, catering, any of that stuff, what piece of advice would you give somebody who's ready to kick that off in Las Vegas?
I would say that look within, right? And what I mean by that is create a product that is genuine, that is organic, that resonates with you. Because if it resonates with you, there's a higher likelihood that it'll resonate with others, right? If you're just doing something for to follow a trend,
you hear the margins are good.
Exactly. Yeah. It's maybe there's going to be some short-term gains, right? But that that strategy is really hard to sustain, right? So I would say, really, and that's kind of what, what I've done personally, with my marketing, our newest kind of marketing message is like fueling the American dream. That's what's on that mug, right? And well, that spoke to me because I saw my parents and their journey to, give us a better life, me and my brothers a better life. And that spoke to me. And speaks to others as well. So I think just, be genuine in your product, be genuine in your marketing and your messages, and just, remember, one step at a time,
I love that. I love it. And then as we start to wrap, when it comes to, for you, seeing all the challenges, growing through all these things, if you could wave a magic wand, what's one thing that you'd really love to see here in the Valley in the next 3 to 5 years?
It's happening. So it's it wasn't my magic wand, but somebody's, right? the monorail, which is great. Well, it's like, I guess like a high speed train, right? From LA. I've always felt like there has, California is such a big market for our city that having a direct and easy way for people to commute if they wanted to, or just like visit Vegas in a quick and less expensive way that won't, clog up the 15. I think that's huge. I think that's going to bring a whole nother dimension to this city that's already driven by tourism. And so I'm excited about that, and I'm excited the people and the faces and the ideas that it brings to this city. I'm just grateful to be in Vegas, and took a chance on Vegas, and Vegas took a chance on me, and I'm just happy to be able to continue to grow with it and see its its potential, because it's pretty unlimited.
I love it.
I know. Oh my God, I'm just sitting here like feeling so wholesome. Does anyone else feel so wholesome? No, thank you, Josh, for just like sharing, and like the way you move through your food and your passion, it really shows. So I know that people can feel energy even through just listening to this podcast or sharing it with their friends. So we really just want to wish you the best. Like, we're going to continue to bring friends into the all the places, obviously the local ones, and hopefully just more people see what it actually takes to build a gritty business and maintain the business the way it is and operate on its like highest capacity out of integrity. So you said a lot of things. There's like, the trends will kind of, go through its thing. So right. I just want to appreciate you for being here and acknowledge you for all the work you've put in to just build something like so worthwhile in this town. And we're here for it, man. We're here for it.
You've got a new refan. She's a refan now.
We're gonna buy the mug and and have lunch there without Dave, because he's going to Spring Wolf Fam. So.
I'll meet you there. I'm
a little petty.
So where can people find you? Where can they connect? And what's the easiest way to get plugged in with everything that you're doing?
Yeah, best way, is. You can find us on all social media platforms, at MakersLV, on our website, makerslv.com. You can find me on LinkedIn. I'm back and rolling on LinkedIn. That's I'm gone for 4 years, and I come back, and that thing's like a monster. It's it's crazy how much has changed. Take It Easy Roasters is in Chinatown. TakeItEasyRoasters.com, or at Take It Easy Roasters on all social media platforms. We're open 7 days a week for brunch, lunch, coffee, breakfast, all of the above. And, we hope to see you there. And I just want to say thank you both for having me on this podcast. It's been fun getting to chop it up with you guys.
I love it. Thanks so much. With that, you guys have to make sure and stop by any of the Makers and Finders location. Sometimes you'll catch me with a stack of books just trying to make friends over at Take It Easy Roasters, since I bail on all my friends and go to Sparrow and Wolf without them. But yeah, you guys are incredible. And with that, I think we've got a wrap.
Yeah. So see you next time. Catch us on pursue.vegas. Reach out to Dave and I anytime, or with Josh. We're happy to connect you with anyone in the community, and then just let us know how we can add value. Thanks.